Alright, hello guys, how's it going? In today's video, we're going to be talking about Tropical Storm Henri, expected to be Hurricane Henri by time we're reaching tomorrow or the next day. We're going to talk about a lot of things, but confidence has massively increased that this one is going to hit the northeastern United States. Probably an 80+% chance at this point of that type of an impact. We're going to go over all of those impacts because there's major ones expected later on in the video. Anyway, be sure to smash that like button, leave a comment down below, and subscribe for more weather-related content. Anyways, for today's comment of the day, I want to know, do you think this will be one of the most, if not the most, major land impact tropical storm or hurricanes this year for the United States based on just damages and everything like that with the places it's expected to hit? Do you think it'll be one of the more impactful storms? Let us know in the comments down below, and I'll be picking one of those for tomorrow's video. Let's get straight into this video, though, and first things first, we're taking a look at that low-pressure location. It's actually offshore of Florida and Georgia and South Carolina right now. It's expected to pretty much head directly north from this point forward. Here was the simulated simulated satellite imagery. I would say approximately 2 a.m. this morning. And by the time I reach about 4 a.m., not much has changed at all there. Maybe 4 or 5 a.m. It has not really changed too much. It's not intensifying or weakening. It's probably intensifying a little bit, but just not very significantly yet. It's hardly even moving. And by the time we take a look at the entire Atlantic here on the 5-day graphical tropical weather outlook, it's pretty clear that the tropics are just blowing up. We have Tropical Storm Grace, which was a hurricane and is expected to regain that hurricane status before hitting Mexico again. We have post-tropical cyclone Fred still up there in New England, going to bring some rainfall and some windiness, and then they're going to get hit by Henri afterwards, so they're getting like a 1-2 punch, and I don't know if that's ever happened in New England. Obviously, it's rare for even one tropical system to impact you guys, let alone two. So you're in for a very interesting, week or so. We have another potential tropical cyclone there in the middle of the Atlantic. That one, as we zoom in here, has a 20% chance of development over the next 5 days. It's not necessarily a very high chance, but there is a chance. So we're going to be watching that one very closely. And real quickly, just before we move on and really dive into Tropical Storm Henri, I just wanted to show you guys the cone forecast here for Tropical Storm Grace, just so we could close this one out. This will be the last time we update you guys on this tropical cyclone. Again, expected to regain that hurricane status. They have hurricane warnings up for Mexico, and then cross over Mexico, eventually becoming a post-tropical depression there over kind of western Mexico there. It will likely weaken before reaching the Pacific. I highly doubt it'll do any sort of redeveloping or anything of that nature. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to move on and take a look at the cone forecast for Tropical Storm Henri, where now there's hurricane watches up and down the New England and Northeast coast there. We're really expecting this one to pack a punch. Now, I do have some bad news. Obviously, most of what I've talked about in this video is bad news. The bad news here is that I am going out of town starting today. I'm in town right now making this video at my house, but I am leaving this afternoon. This has been planned for well before Tropical Storm Henri was even a thought. But the problem here is that I have pre-made videos that are not related to the tropics. They're not related to Tropical Storm Henri at all. So this is my last YouTube update for Tropical Storm Henri, unfortunately. And if I could do anything to change that, I promise you guys I would absolutely do that. This is one of the biggest weather events of the year, likely, and I'm pretty much going to miss most of it when it's happening, and that's very unfortunate. I'm only getting back Sunday night, so it's just bad timing. The storm will have already hit land likely by that point, so there's many reasons why this is just unfortunate. However, I do plan on making updates over on my Instagram and on my TikTok as much as I can, because I can't really make full YouTube videos because, again, I pre-made them because I'm not gonna have the best situation for recording. But I can give you guys quick updates over there on the Instagram story, maybe an Instagram post, or potentially a TikTok, which some people don't know I have. It's just direct weather on TikTok. So be paying attention to that Instagram, be paying attention to that TikTok, but most of all, be paying attention to the National Hurricane Center for the most life-saving updates for you guys. That's going to be your best bet for sure. But if you want more updates from me, that's where I'm going to be potentially making some updates for you guys as much as I possibly can. So here is that cone forecast. Again, just a very unfortunate situation. I do apologize that it lined up this way, but obviously there was nothing I could really do about the timing. It was just really unfortunate. I wish it would have been on one of those quieter weekends that I was going out of town. But no, of course, it's this one where we have a very major event occurring, but that's okay. Um, Now, this one is expected to become a hurricane by 2 p.m. tomorrow, according to the National Hurricane Center. We will take a look at that intensity guidance later on because I do think there's a chance this one just never really reaches that hurricane status. There's also a chance that it really quickly reaches that hurricane status and maybe even approaches category 2 or so. It's hard to determine at this point. This one is proving to be a pretty challenging one. But yesterday I touched on the fact that the National Hurricane Center had the cone pretty much over the ocean and not really acknowledging that risk of, um, a New England hit. They really brought this one back west, and I commend that for them. I think they came back to kind of more of a realistic scenario here based on what the models were showing. They adjusted nicely, and now this is a forecast that I agree with. I think this is a cone that I would have, even been fine with as of yesterday. Maybe a little bit wider on the eastern half, but that's whatever. Long Island, you're not even out of the question. New York City isn't even really out of the question of some major impacts if the storm is to take a very far western path. But mostly, I think Long Island, Nantucket, and Martha's Vineyard are going to get the brunt of this storm. After that, kind of southeastern Massachusetts and Connecticut. It is going to weaken as it heads north, but Boston and areas even further north in New England will be receiving some impacts from this storm. It could even hit New England as a hurricane, which is even more rare than, it already is. Now, what we're going to do, because I just went on a whole kind of rant about how I'm going to be out of town, we're going to move on to talk about the spaghetti model guidance, intensity guidance, and impacts in just a moment. Now, here we are taking a look at that spaghetti model guidance. This is our GEFS model. This is probably the least impactful path solution that I've seen. It kind of just has it heading north towards Massachusetts, towards New England, and then heading pretty much out to sea and weakening pretty quickly here. Obviously, a majority of these have direct impacts to New England. The European model here is a much more impactful solution because what it kind of does is it curves around, obviously, heads north, and then it kind of heads east and then comes in west. And I don't mean to bring this storm up as a comparison as far as any sort of impacts, track, or intensity, but this is similar to what Sandy did, where it kind of came east and then pulled back west and kind of hit the coast directly. That's the only similarity here. Well, and it's hitting the northeastern United States. But outside of that, there's not many similarities here between this storm and Sandy, so I'm not using that as an actual analog or comparison here. But this track of kind of curving out and then curving in is kind of a good comparison as far as track. But intensity, impacts, things of that nature, all different. But this would be especially impactful, I think, for Long Island and Connecticut. As this storm comes in, it could make the storm surge worse for a lot of those regions. Also, Rhode Island, areas like that. But this would be the most impactful solution. And the concerning thing here is that a lot of these individual models, as we move on, have this same solution. You see, they don't pull quite as far east, but they do pull a little bit east and then come in a little bit west. We have anything from well, I'm ignoring that one that shows it hitting North Carolina because that is an extreme outlier at this point. But anywhere between a New Jersey hit and then a offshore of Massachusetts hit seems to be the most likely scenario here. So yes, New York and New Jersey, you are not ruled out from this storm, in my opinion, yet. We're going to be watching that situation for you guys closely. Intensity guidance, there is some good news. We only have one storm bringing this above Category 1 to Category 2 and then 3, but that is an outlier at this point. We do have a few keeping it at tropical storm status, which is interesting. And then a vast majority have this one peaking at a weaker side of a Category 1, a weaker half there, and then pulling back down towards tropical storm status. So that's good news because as of yesterday, we had a lot calling for Category 2 or 3. That still could happen. I want to let you guys know these models do change here and there, but I really feel like this is good news overall for you guys. As far as rainfall is concerned, this is the forecast from the National Hurricane Center. If you're in the lighter greens, we're expecting 1 to 2 inches of rain. Darker greens, 2 to 4 inches of rain, and then yellows there, 4 to 6. This has room for growth, but really I feel like this is another sign of good news because this is less rain than what is definitely possible with a hurricane. For instance, Fred, we saw easily 6 to 10 inches of rain, even 10 to 15 in some regions. So this is a really good, this is good news. This is good news, guys. Most likely arrival time of tropical storm force winds, as you can see, southern New England and mostly the land impacts there right as it moves on shore is going to be Sunday morning time frame. But you can find your area and find that time frame. But as far as the percentages there for tropical storm force winds, if you're anywhere in the greens, 5 to 30% chance. Yellows is 30 to 60% chance, and then oranges and reds is 60 to 100% chance. We do have a 70 to 90% chance there for Long Island and southern New England as well. So there's very high probability of impact from this storm. New York City, you're around a 50% chance. So again, a lot of areas could be impacted by this one. In storm surge, this is going to impact areas up and down the northeast coast here, from the southern tip there of New Jersey all the way up to nearly Boston there. And the further north you are, the more storm surge we're seeing. 1 to 3 feet there around New Jersey, 2 to 4 feet there for a lot of Long Island and maybe even New York City, and then 3 to 5 feet there for areas in Rhode Island and Massachusetts there, including Nantucket there and Martha's Vineyard. So we are expecting a pretty significant storm surge for you folks up there. So we're going to be watching those things closely. Anyway, for today's confidence tab, we've moved from a 3 to a 5 because we're so much closer with this one, and all the models have pulled together on board with basically this New England impact. For today's comment of the day, I asked you guys, do you think Henri will impact New England? And if so, what intensity? And Brandon Dunn said, Henri will definitely impact New England as a strong tropical storm or hurricane. And that's right where I'm at with it, kind of a stronger, higher-end tropical storm or a weaker-end hurricane there. That seems to be the sweet spot for the intensity. For today's patron highlight of the day, I want to thank you all for supporting the channel, but especially our platinum patrons, John Benbenek, James Wade, Dobie Nagel, Little Pan, and Donna Carnes, alongside our diamond patrons, Bill Roberts, Marcus Connolly, Noah Harley, Michael Cotalessa, Catbite, Charles Stinnett, Cindy Klein, Mark J. Luke Flago, Gary, John Colisi, Dwight Phelan, and Stephen Crenenthal. If you'd like to be a part of this exciting patron entry of the day, you can do so by joining our very awesome Patreon page in the description and in the pinned comments down below. I would also like to thank our channel members, Hair Farms 1 and Catbite as well. Anyway, guys, be sure to smash that like button, leave a comment down below, and subscribe for more weather-related content. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video.